That's what's blowing my mind. It's like it's already bad enough that most men have to pay to get to know a woman, to find out that one, she doesn't like him or he doesn't like her, but he still has to pay. And now the idea that you got to bring a gift.
If a man decides he wants to give a present on the first date, who are you to tell him he can't, right? If a man decides he doesn't, who are you to tell him he has to? If somebody decides they have a cap on their finance for the first date, who are you to tell him he needs to raise it?
I think though that you do a better job, and I'm saying women, you would do a better job of figuring out what that man's tolerance level may be. Control may be a thing that may be. I don't know him. I'm just speaking again in general. When you're in a relationship, there is a certain level of flexibility, I believe, that you have to consider. That's the same even on our end. There's certain things that, not myself personally, but I know dudes, they may smoke cigars or may drink a certain way. I think that the way you move, you got to be considerate. It's just plain consideration. So if you're going to throw something on your body, and I know like we going somewhere, it may be wise to be like, hey, how you feel about this? Would you think this look good on me? Like my lady shows me all her outfits, especially if you're trying to put it together. Not that I'm gonna be like, don't wear that, don't do that. But I think she actually does care about how she looks, how she's presenting as an individual, as well as being in a relationship. And I just think that's respectful.
So I think that I'm just saying these could be considered red flags. I'm like, Jay, let me straighten this all out. Golly, I'm just saying what could be considered red flags by some of the vast majority. I also wrote down the whole love bombing thing. That always comes up mainly with women. Well, no, I'm gonna say both, but mainly, the love bombing where, all the constant gifts and constant affirmations and constant everything. Some people can view that as a red flag because then you're rushed into a relationship with those people per se. So what do y'all think about the love bombing?
No, love bombing is a red flag.
Oh, go ahead, Mont. Sorry.
No, I think love bombing is a red flag.
Yeah.
But you're saying love bombing, you're saying as far as like buying new things and affirmations,
Yeah.
and then what?
Like those guys that they just leave with their money.
Yeah, he trying to buy you.
Yeah, you pull up to a date.
Where they at?
He got flowers. He got you this. He got you that. And it's like, yo, I just met you the other day. That's a red flag.
Well, what if somebody just
I don't believe that. What if he just got it like that and he just likes to show his appreciation?
It's still a level of reasonability here. Like I would, of course, like you would love to like go on a first date and just be like, this is my wife. Let me give her everything. But we know you got to chill out. You can't do that. It's a certain way that you go about things, and it's a certain level of investment you do gradually. And it's just,
We just talked about this in one of the other.
I think it's relative, to be honest. Would you come with any small token of anything on your first date or no? Never.
Most likely never.
Really? Oh, I would.
So wait a second. Hold on. Wait. So it's a thing now where we supposed to bring women a gift on a date that we're about to have to pay for over the course of us paying.
Nobody said it was a thing.
That's like I'm asking just to be clear because he said like a small token. Like, bitch, this date is a token.
No,
like,
I've seen it done. Right? I'm not. This isn't something that I practice.
Wait. Have you ever done it?
No.
Or like men of your ilk or higher, do they do that?
Some people do. Some people do. Even though I don't practice it
or something. That's
on
like
the first date.
On the first
we
date,
got to give context. The only way that it matters, that is reasonable on the first date, is if y'all been building a rapport for a while before y'all went on that first date.
Well, usually that's how it goes,
anyway.
No?
What you should
no.
Like y'all should have had.
How it goes, because when I said that it took me forever to go on the first date, you were one of the main ones thinking I was crazy.
Yeah.
No, because you said it takes you forever. It shouldn't take you forever.
Yeah, I said it took me a couple weeks, a month, something like that.
You said months.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
if you
that's not forever, but I hear you, Toy.
So do you think it's wildly unreasonable?
And I went and got them a card. It was his birthday,
yes.
and I got them a card, and they thought that was like the sweetest thing. I don't think
it was his birthday, Jay.
It was his birthday. That's different.
Okay.
Well, when have you went on a first date with a dude and brought him anything, even a free cologne sample you get when you were shopping for yourself? Like, it just doesn't happen. That's what's blowing my mind. It's like it's already bad enough that most men have to pay to get to know a woman, to find out that one, she doesn't like him or he doesn't like her, but he still has to pay. And now the idea that you got to bring a gift.
No, I don't think
I
that's
think
what
I think I think first I think first
He was
date
asking.
first date is kind of wild. I think first date's kind of wild. But we were talking about Mont brought up love bombing in general, and I would say the beginning of the relationship, and I think that's a different story, especially if you built the rapport and been talking for a while. I think it's all relative, right? So for some people, that type of money just doesn't matter, and I'm not saying you have to earn it or she's requiring it. That's stupid. But if you just you know what, I saw something dope, I thought about you. I don't see the problem with that.
No, that's fair, Trev. That's fair.
That's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are some women who will see it as a red flag and call it love bombing.
No, Trev,
maybe they're used
because
to
they don't know the difference. Love bombing, what differentiate a nice gesture from love bombing is the intensity that it happens. It's just like, so if the women lack discernment, then she's toast and she's gonna be single forever.
So if a nigga shows up with, you know what I'm saying, some perfume he thought smells good on your first date, that's not love bombing. But if he buys you a car and he pulls up and has it in the parking lot after, that's love bombing.
Where is this?
Dang, a car, that's definitely love.
So
now y'all quiet.
say that I think it's interesting. Once again, like we kind of get into
Hold on,
these,
pretty trying to go. Good.
yeah, we kind of get into these spaces where we monitor other people's pockets, their intentions a little bit too much. And it goes back to the initial questions where how much are people required to divulge about how they do dating in a public sphere for you to approve of, right? Like if a man decides he wants to give a present on the first date, who are you to tell him he can't, right? If a man decides he doesn't, who are you to tell him he has to? If somebody decides they have a cap on their finance for the first date, who are you to tell him he needs to raise it? If he decides he does not want to have a cap and he wants to fly somebody out on the first date, who are you to tell him he has to have a cap? Like I'm not understanding this part of it, because people are quite literally allowed to do whatever the fuck they want to do with their lives and with their dating expectations. They're allowed to do that. There are some people who fly people out for a first date. They fly them out and they don't think anything of it because that's just what they do. And then there's people who argue over a 2 for $25 at Applebee's. And I want the fifth, whatever you call those little damn things that you dip in the marinara sauce. What do you call them? Mozzarella sticks. Yeah, those. Yeah, like I want the fifth one. There's 5. I should get 3 because I paid for it. Like there's people who are doing that. So I think it ranges. We can't really decide for people what they want to do on a first date.
I think you're mischaracterizing the conversation. Like we're talking about best practices and we're talking in general about, okay, what could this look like if a man is doing this to you? Like what does love bombing look like?
That
love
wouldn't
bombing,
be a mischaracterization if it's different.
Well, no, because I think you were saying that we're just trying to tell people what to do, but we're talking about love bombing is a real thing, right? And we're talking about, okay, what does it look like? And when should you be suspect? Like when should your antennas be up? We're not saying that you can't meet a man and he do all this stuff on the first date and that end up being your husband and he's just the most best man ever. We're just talking about in general, what do these things tend to look like? That's all.
No, I get that. But the part I'm clarifying, let me just clarify, because quite literally there were few people said, oh, if the give it for that's respectable. I agree with that. I'm on board with that. We approve of that. That was the language that was also being used. So yes, I understand the origin, but it got to a point where it's like, we, the manosphere, need to approve of what a man does on the first date, which is where, once again, you lose the point. Because I understand the concept of love bombing. I do understand that there are people who love bomb, and I think those are real red flags. However, there are some people who have it. And if you're a person who is not used to it, you think this is love bombing, when quite literally that's just what they do. They have done that for everybody. And it's not like you're special. It's not that you're out of the ordinary. That's just what they do. So I think that there's that part of it as well.
I don't think love bombing necessarily. I don't think it's predicated necessarily on the fact of the person's economical status. I know people tend to focus on that, but I do believe as men, we do have a general understanding of how to do this since we date women, and women have no idea what it is to be on this side. Because in my personal opinion, they don't date. They participate in dating. They don't actually date. So that's where it's the same thing. If I heard women, and I'm pretty sure if women was like saying, well, do you give it up on the first date, or do you let him pick you up from your house, or whatever the heck rules you guys set, there are certain practices that as men, and we're talking to a panel of people, but others listening, some guys don't know how to navigate this correctly. So I don't know if it's the maybe shaming them of it, but there is a dance that is required. And those men who date successfully will probably react how we're reacting. Like, yo, you don't show up on a first date. You are setting a certain standard in her mind, and maybe even women that you're interacting with, that you're not possibly a man of quality. And there's certain things that I don't believe that women generally understand, because again, y'all don't date like we do. It's not the same exchange. That's what I heard from it.
Yeah, damn it, that's what I was about to say. True, fuck you. Go ahead.
It was an old show that used to.
I don't understand the idea of women don't date, they participate in dating. Could you clarify that for me? How is that different? If a man's dating a woman, a woman's dating a man, everyone's in the dating atmosphere. They're experiencing the things. I guess, can you clarify that?
Yeah, I believe that women don't date because they're not necessarily carrying the exchange of dating. Typically, women are just open. They're on the market. So when I'm saying dating, I'm saying it from an action perspective. They're not asking dudes out. They're not necessarily setting the tone of how this goes. So in my opinion, when I think about dating, I'm thinking about it from a male perspective, me being a male. And I've never been dated. No woman has really went out of her way over, with over zealous energy to make my world happy, or to make, those type of things take place. This is just how it is. No. I've been spoiled, but I'm saying that when it comes to this dating thing, we're the ones doing it. This is why we typically understand. Women don't typically go out of their way to ask men for damn near anything relevant to dating. Like, that's just not how it goes. So in my mind, when I think about their participation, it's always petition, request, acceptance. Would you like? I was thinking about this. I got this going on. That's not on the adverse. She doesn't
show up at this time.
Yeah, I don't think they start dating until there's actually some level of significant rapport, and that typically is something of a relationship. Then I would say that yes, they can start participating maybe a little bit more at that point.